Hello. Good evening. Welcome. My name is Kwabena. Welcome. I want to share with you today some thoughts that I have on business and how we can do it a bit more, a bit less stressful and less difficult. So, I'm talking about to make your business life less stressful and access to capital. Make your business life less stressful. Access to capital. The way you start the business, what kind of business you start, the the the, the time, the age that you start the business, the, the whether you're married or single, those things they happen to have they happen to increase the stress level at the point of starting the business. When they say that business is difficult, it is difficult, but there are basic things that we have to understand. And if you happen to understand those, and there are principles, there are maybe formulas. If you happen to understand those and you apply them, even though it's tough, it's difficult, some things will be a bit less stressful for you. And those I would want to share with you because I think that we are at a point where we the statistics they have we have more than maybe 3 million people looking for job in our country, maybe graduates, just graduates alone. The other time that they were trying to give employment, you saw how if you do an advert for jobs, you see people. I think that it has come to a point where maybe not it has come to a point. It has been like that for many years, where you have to find a way of creating your own livelihood. You have to have a way of creating your own source of income or sources of income. You have to have a way of creating your own life and live life because you're not going to wait and keep waiting for jobs forever. And if you're going to start business too, you have to know, at least you must understand some basic things that you have to work with. If you are starting business and you're 20 years, it's a bit different from when you're starting business. You're 20 years, you're single, you probably are living with your mother or your father, or you are hanging with your friends. It is a bit different from starting a business when you have a wife or children, or you have a husband or children. So the dynamics are different. And looking at the structure of our economy, looking at how people start businesses, there are things that you can do and do well. And maybe if you happen to find those things well set out and well thought out and well implemented, maybe you'll be able to do it and do it well. Because many people who start businesses go through a lot of stress, and some of it, or a lot of it, has got to do with cash or access to it. In a typical situation where people start businesses, they start with an idea. Maybe they have a concept that they want to develop, and they write a business plan. They sit down to calculate all the costs that will be incurred, maybe for a year, or maybe for up to the time that they start to receive revenue for the business. Maybe let's say a year. So if you were to sit down to plan, maybe you want to start what kind of business? Any business that you want to start, you have to sit down to at least project for the first 12 months what kind of money that you would need to make sure that the business is set and it gets to a point where people start to pay for the services or the product that you're developing. You will look at what it will take to develop the product. You look at maybe transport, you look at telephone, you look at administrative costs, you look at salary, for instance, because the fact that you are building the business or building the product or the idea does not mean that you're not going to eat. And that's where the pain is, because most people who don't have any access to salary, to revenue, it is the toughest time. So if you happen to be working on, say, a drug, a concept, and it's going to take you 12 months before you can get it to the market, that's 12 months. Or some people can take you maybe 2 years. That duration, what are you going to do? If you have no source of income from anywhere, how are you going to survive? If you're a single boy somewhere 20 years, you can fight your way through. But if you have 3, 4 children, you have to pay salary, pay rent, pay mortgage, pay fuel. Those things will put a lot of stress. And that is one of the reasons why I think majority of the people who have a lot of social engagement find it difficult to really take that risk of starting a business. But if it is thought out well, maybe something can be done and maybe manage the situation. So a typical scenario, you will maybe look at, maybe if I will need 100,000 for the first 1 year, maybe somebody will give me that 100,000, or maybe I'll go for a loan, or maybe I'll find a partner who will invest that 100,000, and we find a way of managing the business with that 100,000 until we start to go to the market to receive revenue. That is a typical situation in a well-structured economy. Now, in our situation, if you don't have that 100,000, or if you don't have that 10,000, you want to receive money the next minute. That is the best business that you may be looking at. You want to receive revenue the next minute, because if you have no access to money and you have to pay children's school fees, you have to do all those, it is going to be difficult for you to survive as a business person. So how you structure the business is very key. What business that you're starting, the type of business, when is the money coming, who is going to pay you, at what point, what are you going to do until that money comes in, will affect the stress level that you have to handle. A lot of people have a lot of ideas, a lot of good plans to start a business. What scares them is, what am I going to do up until the point or the time that the business can take care of me? And what I'm going to discuss is what are some of the things that I think you can do to survive, especially when you have other people on you, because it's a breaking point. A lot of it, sometimes that period could be 2 years, it could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, it could be 5 years. That period of difficulty, that period of stress, of pain, that period of shortage of cash constantly, not only for the business, but also for you, because you're going to eat, you're going to sleep, you're going to wear clothes, you're going to buy fuel, you're going to take taxi, trotro, all those. How are you going to survive? Because if you don't have that one right, then I think that you should start a business when you have less engagement, because in that case, then you only take care of your situation. So if you come home and there's no food, you can buy maybe granite, buy some gari somewhere, put water on it, and you sleep, because it's only you can fight. And I think that is the best time, when you don't have a lot of engagement and you don't have access to money. One of the best times to start a business is when you're less engaged. The moment you are engaged on something, you must have another plan, or you will give up that quickly, or you're going to endure a lot of stress, a lot of pain. And some people are not cut or built for, nobody wants a lot of stress like that. So you have to create a livelihood whilst you are within that period where the business is trying to evolve to make some kind of profit. So build the business with less stress. You need that less stress. You need access to capital. And so structure it. Would somebody give you money and become part of the business? And can you project or say, we are going to need maybe 20,000 for the next 2 years or the next 1 year, and this is how we are going to use that money? Can you sit down and plan that, and would somebody support you with that? That's a perfect scenario, and I know that not many of us will get access to that kind of perfect situation. What usually happens is that you just have 100 cedis and you start to move. And That is what happens, and that is what creates a lot of financial problems, financial difficulties. And I think that is why most of us are not able to build a business where you have a part in time where you are working on a product and you know that this product will take maybe the next 5, 6, 7, 12 months for the product to hit the market and for the product to be, for the product to sell and for you to start to get revenue for the business. Until you start to receive revenue for the business, all that you're doing is not business. Until you start to get money from the product that you have developed, from the service that you have developed, from the concept that you have worked on, it's not business. Even though you've been using the little money that you have to keep on developing. Let's say you are working on a website. You're developing a website. Maybe you want to sell something over the website, or maybe you're developing a software that you want to sell to people, and maybe that software will take you maybe 6 months or to a year to work it. So from the time that you're working, what else can you do? What other activities can you do? How are you going to get support in terms of money to take care of yourself, to take care of your family, and still focus on that business? That's one of the most challenges that a lot of us will do. Because if you don't have access to money, you will lose focus on that business when you meet a lot of challenges, especially when you are in your middle age, when you have family, especially when you have people depending on you. Maybe your mother is waiting for you, your father is waiting for you, your brothers and sisters are waiting for you. Can you say that I'm going to develop a business for the next 2-3 years, and I'm going to try? You may not have that luxury. And I think that is what most people are scared of, because they're thinking of, okay, these people took care of me, they sent me to school, they spent a lot of money on me. Can I use the next 3-5 years to say that I'm going to work on this product, I'm going to work on this business, and I'm not going to receive any money? That may not be the situation. And so, even though some people may have an idea, some people may have a concept that can be monetized, that can be commercialized, they look at the inconvenience up until the time that the business or the idea is developed, until the time that the idea starts to bring some kind of revenue, because you will need that revenue. You will need something to live on, and you need something to help the family. So you have to look at a way of not losing focus of that business that you're building, and at the same time, you have to look at a way of having revenue to take care of at least your basic needs, and also the needs of the business. Because in our country, even if when the business is working, it's tough to get access to capital. Those are facts. And so the closest of the business that you can start is the business that you start that the next minute you have revenue. And that's why most people would look at maybe selling, or look at something that would give them money the next minute, because in that case, at least, even if it's not profit, you will get something to buy food and to take care of yourself. If you are going to work on a business that they are going to pay you for the next 5, maybe you're developing a whole concept, very good concept, very good idea. You have to get money and inject money, because when you're starting, and if your first business, and you go and you lock yourself into developing a concept, like the people in the movie industry, for instance, maybe you want to produce a movie, and maybe you need 100,000. How do you start such an industry? You may have to talk to a lot of people to raise that money. Now, are you going to keep your job while you're talking to people, talking to banks, talking to financiers to raise that money? And beyond that, you need another time to develop that movie and even hope that that movie will sell. That's a typical situation. Or you will keep a job. And so, because once you are also locked up in a job, how do you have time and the energy to also continue to develop that concept or that business or that idea? It is a tough call, and your ability to find a way to weave through will decide the kind of stress that you're able to put up with, and maybe the chance of you building a business. Which industry that you identify is very key. and it depending on your your social your financial status, especially depending on how much money that you have, will depend will spell out or will help you to know what kind of industry that you can be in, and the possible rate of success that you can enjoy. Other than that, then you will see everybody will see you as somebody who is trying everything and who is worrying every minute. And a lot of people have gone through that. And it gets to a point you have tried for 5 years, you have tried for 10 years, you have tried for 7 years, and it seems like you have put everything connected to you into a very difficult financial situation. Because the moment you are not receiving money for that business, whether you like it or not, you're still eating. Whether you like it or not, you may still have to pay school fees. Whether you like it or not, you may still have to pay rent. And all those are money that, in spite, is outside the business money that you're spending. You're still spending money on yourself as a person. And if you have not, if you have no access to money, to cash, it is going to be difficult. And that may drain you, and that may eventually let you give up on your dream of building a business. So you have to decide the situation that you're in. Do you have money? If you don't have money, do you know somebody who has money to give you? Or do you have access to some loan? If you don't have that, then you have to know what kind of business can I structure to lift myself from this moment where I don't have access to money. And this kind of business that I'm building, maybe I'm not going to have access to money anytime soon. You have to look at that, because if you don't look at that, the little, even if you have little to push it in that business, it goes there, it cannot stay there for long because you don't have it. And you have no hope of somebody bringing you another money or something. And that is what kills a lot of people. So you must, if you look at our economy, if you look at our situation, you must engineer a business that if you're like me and the way you started, you may have to engineer a business where the next minute you start to receive revenue. That will mean that you may not want to start a business where you are going to need time to develop that concept before people start to pay you. Or you may need time to develop that product before people start to pay you. You may not have that luxury. You may be somebody who will just go and pick that product that somebody has already developed and build a market or sales structure around it and start to sell it. That may be a very good starting point, because in that case, the next day that you're on the market, if you get somebody to buy something, you start to see money. And I think that looking from where I am now, I think the people who are able to maneuver through this kind of situation are people who are able to build and take something to the market, whether they built it themselves that quickly or somebody has built it. If you're able to do that quickly, you'll be able to survive quick. But if you're going to wait for somebody's money and that money keeps on delaying, or if you're going to continue to push that what you have and push it and push it and push it, and there's no sales, there's no revenue, there's no income, you will give up. And you have no access to money, and nobody is trying to look at you, because see, we are yet to have those kind of setups where people will give you money and let you go and try it on an idea and possibly fail on that idea. When we start business, the next minute, the money must come. And so you may have to think of a business that the next minute the money is coming, at least the first business. Then maybe when you have money, you can go and spend and develop concepts, develop a product, and maybe give it time. Because most people who are able to have access to capital, develop a product, take it to the market, and give them some time, to keep on investing in the business, build the market, and expand it. Those kind of businesses are able to bring in big revenues, and they are able to grow faster. But it needs a lot of strength to endure the period where cash becomes a problem. Cash becomes a problem. So you have to sit and look at the kind of business that you can develop, because you have to make that business life less stressful, especially if you have some family. You have to look at how you're going to. And the other thing that maybe you can do is, maybe if you think that working on a product is going to take a lot of time before you start to sell, then maybe you have to maybe take a part-time job, or maybe sell something that you can see money that quickly, or maybe go as an independent consultant or something. But there's always also risk to that, because the energy that the business is required to succeed may also be shared. And sometimes in your quest to survive, you may give up on the business entirely, especially when you see that the other place you can easily get 1,000 or 2,000 every month, and this one you have been pushing all that you have and nothing is coming up. You may give up. You may give up. So it's a tough call, but it depends on the level that you're starting. If you're a young man, then maybe you can just try and sweat and take the pain and push. But if you're growing and you have responsibilities, you have other people on you, then you have to do it strategically. So that is it. And you may have to sit down and possibly have an objective cost of what it will take you for that business to start to work. Especially when you're developing maybe a project, when you're developing a concept, you may have to sit down. And the thing about it is that a lot of us were not that intelligent to sit down to do any calculation. That's why we endured a lot of pain. That's why we had to go through a lot of difficulties, a lot of struggles, a lot of pain, a lot of stress, especially with cash and cash flow. Because we a lot of the things that people consider as things that they say that you're meeting these difficulties is this just because we didn't have much information to put the things as they're supposed to be. We didn't have much information to apply the required discoveries, the required principles that are needed to build a business and to set a business. So depending on the industry that you're in, you may have to sit down and see, what can I do and do well? Build a business. Finance, you have to look at that, because the finance is everything. If you're going to go through a lot of pain, you have to structure the business, and you structure the business without thinking of the cash flow at the initial stage. You're going to go through a lot of stress, and you have to design the business so that you can reduce the stress. You can reduce the stress, because I think the difficulties that we go through here in terms of stress is too much. It's too much, and they kill drive. They kill drive. They kill pain. They kill enthusiasm. They kill passion. And if you happen to go for loan or go to the banks, that does not also solve it at all. They also don't solve it, because they are going to complicate the issue. They charge you 30%. Your business may not get that 30% interest after 3 years. So that's not an option as well. So maybe look at the way that you can design. And if you happen to start a business that the next minute you're getting revenue, you're getting salary, at least have a project, have a minimum amount that you think you can live on. Take it from that revenue and see if that concept can survive on its own. If you take that money, assuming that you are the first worker in that business, and maybe you're paying yourself 500 Ghana every month or something. If you take that 500 Ghana every month from the sales that you're making, do you think that the business can grow from within? Can the business grow by itself? If you take, because you're still going to live anyway, you're still going to buy fuel, you're still going to buy data, you're still going to buy telephone, you're still going to eat, pay rent, and so if you need that, can you live on the 500,000, or maybe you live on 2,000 or 5,000? If you take that salary from that business, can the business survive? Does it make sense? If it doesn't, what other strategy can you have so that the business can grow? What other strategy can you have to get access to some money to take care of yourself, especially, and also to make sure that the business grows? Because, for instance, construction companies, you get a project, and because you are waiting for that, you get a project, and the first profit you start to, you go and buy a car with it, go and buy all the things that you buy without thinking through that this is a business that must grow. So the first project profit may not be yours, and yet that is what a lot of people do. And that's why we find it difficult to be able, to build a business that easily, because even if you get somebody to give you money, if you get investors' money, or if you get loan, you still have to be accountable, and you must have the skill to monitor and control the money, because the money that any business starts to spend is so much. Usually we even underestimate it. Because if you project that you're going to spend 10,000 every month, it's actually times 2 or times 3. What you write on the paper and what will be the realistic expenditure. Almost all the time, what you spend may be more than what you projected. And the other thing is that what you expect to come in, usually, most of us will exaggerate, exaggerate the amount that will come in, and also we try to give ourselves short time to receive that money. But it's the other way around. Most often, what we project will be the income. It's not that close to what we project. And with the time that we give to ourselves for that money to come in, usually that's not coming that quickly. A delay. And these things can create a lot of inconvenience for you, a lot of stress for you. And so access, design the business so that you can have access, to cash. So you may have to put yourself on salary to take care of at least your basic needs. And maybe you may get somebody to put money in the business for long term. If they give you the money and the next 1 month they need the money back, it's not something that you can build a business with. If you can agree with somebody and take it and say that, okay, maybe I need 5,000, I need 1 year or I need 2 years, and you agree on the interest that you pay the person, maybe that will give you some kind of breathing space, some kind of, some kind of advantage. It depends on what your business needs. Maybe you need 200,000. If you can talk to somebody, if you can talk to a bank to give you that long term to develop it, especially when it is working, maybe. But you cannot go and take a loan when the concept is not working. When the concept is not working, it's so much dangerous to go and take a loan. You may just have to sometimes use what they call the sweat equity and try and see if somebody will pay for it. In that case, that's why a lot of us would have to endure. Something about entrepreneurship is that the strength that you develop at the first year or 2 or 3, that strength that you developed to overcome the difficulties and the challenges, whether with the product that you're developing or the cash flow issues or the difficulties with your partners or the concept not working, those things that you are able to overcome, those are the nutrients that you need to develop your skill as an entrepreneur. And so when they also question you so much without you enduring anything, it is likely that you may struggle with your strength and your capacity. Because the more they question you, the more shortchanged you are in terms of skill and strength and courage development. And so there's not much clarity, but you have to find a way to say that if I'm going to do this, especially if you have a family, then you have to structure it so that that business may quickly give you some kind of revenue that fast. Or you may start 1 or 2 or 3 businesses at the same time. Because if you don't, then you will struggle. And you see that you go out and you come down. You go out and you come down because you have not really understood the impact of the cash, because you're still spending from the business. And if anything really push us into discipline, it was that. It was that where we were working, we were getting projects, but then we had so much limited understanding as to when revenue was going to be received. So we were still moving around, buying fuel, doing all kind of things. Then you lock, because your understanding of the impact of cash was that much limited. And then you become hysterical and you start to look for loans. And those will complicate your life big time. So make your business life less stressful. Design it and grow it gradually. And you have to become so much disciplined and live on a very limited cash. And as much as you can, stay out of a lot of the waste. If you get the money, even if they pay you on time, don't just waste the money. You need a lot of discipline. If you are not disciplined, who else is disciplined with your team, with your network? Is it your friend? Is it wife? Is it your girlfriend? Is it your partner? Who else is more disciplined? That person should be able to control the cash. The one with discipline. And you spend the cash as is really needed. You don't have to bring somebody to come and work there if you don't really need them. You always create the need before you employ somebody. Because the moment you take another person, you're going to pay them. And if you are soft-hearted and you like people and you want to help people, people will come. They'll beg you. They'll say they need salary, they need work, they need work. But the moment you take them, the next minute is that they're asking for salary. And your business may not be ready for that. Then you put a lot of stress on yourself. And before you see it, the business is going down, or you cannot even sleep because you have created a problem for yourself. So build the business with less stress. Build the business with less stress. Control the finances. And if you can, start with the sales. And it does matter what age you are in, what family status that you have. If you're a single person, you have a better chance in terms of the stress level. You may be able to handle the stress better than somebody with a family and children and paying school fees and all those things that family require. So, and that's what I think that it's a bit easier if you start early when you're that less engaged. It's easier. If you are going with a lot of engagement, then you may want to design it very close to what the experts have said on what it takes to build a business, which means that you have to do all the costing and all those rightly, and you may have to look for the money and spend it accordingly and develop the business and give yourself time for the business start to bring in revenue. You don't have to create so much stress for yourself. Design a business start like that, because you're not going to succeed if it's not close to that. And if you look at the economy, I think that the people who are able to take something to the market and get paid quickly have a better chance of starting and building a business than those who are developing the concept, the product, and who are delaying to take the product to the market and who continue to waste a lot of money, whether it's their money or the partner's money or investors' money or bank money, continue to waste it, and they continue to push the time that they are going to get revenue for the business forward. If that is the case, it's likely that you're going to struggle. And so if you want to sell, say, if you want to develop a phone, for instance, what prevents you from maybe starting with selling phones first? And if you have made some kind of revenue, then you can look at designing and production of phones. Let's say you want to go into rice production, and you don't have money, and maybe it will take you maybe 30,000, 40,000, and you don't have that. Maybe the best idea would be to start to sell the rice. So maybe you go and see a major wholesaler or somebody who you can start with a little and start to build the market base for it. And when it gets to a point that you have some money, then you can probably look at the rice production. You don't have to go and start in a very big level when you don't have access to capital, because businesses grow with capital. They grow with money. They may start with fame. They may start with courage. You may start the business with a lot of confidence, but the business will need money to grow. And so if you're able to structure the business, because the business is not going to grow until there's revenue coming in. You will stress. And that's how most of us have stress for years, because we didn't design the business that we were seeing the cash as quickly as possible. And if you're not seeing the cash as quickly as possible, then it means that you're going to go through a lot of challenges. So if you have to re-engineer the business, you may have to re-engineer the business. Except that, or if you have to do something to get money quickly, you may have to look at another business that will give you money. And usually it comes through the sales, it comes through you having the shortest time to pick something, take it to the market, people pay, and you see revenue coming in every time. It's not the one that you are going to work for 4 years, for 4 months, 5 months, 1 year before you see revenue. That kind of business is so difficult. And yet most people look at that, contractors especially. That's the business that they have. That's why most often you see contractors struggling. They struggle a lot because the cash flow doesn't favor their business growth. You design the business so that you have cash flow daily. You have a lot of cash flow coming in, multiples daily. You have a better business. At least from the beginning, at the initial stage, you have a better chance, and that reduces a lot of stress, especially the one that is coming from money. And so, one of the skills that you may want to develop will be the sales skills, whether it's the retail kind of concept that you have, or maybe direct taking the product to the people and convincing them. Sales skills is mainly needed if you want to build a business with less stress, which means that you have to identify a product that you can take to the market ready, and then people start to pay. If you are going to use a lot of time to develop the product before they start, it's difficult. And our economy really does not give a lot of breathing space for people who are developing a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas, because the access to capital is tough. Access to cash is tough. So design the business such that you will have that breathing space to develop yourself. And if you are going single, you have a better chance of maybe having less stress. If you have a wife, children, and you're developing a business and you have no money, you really have to sit down well and plan. Look at which industry. And I think that is the easiest is starting with the sales, taking a product and taking it to the market and working on it, than going to work on a product, developing it for months, for years, when you have no access to capital. And yet your family will need school fees, your family will need rent, your family will need all those things. Those will be difficult situations for you, and that may push you to give up on your business dream, because there's a certain level of stress that may overcome you. So you have to learn how to handle the stress, and a lot of the stress will come from the finance. And if the finance is under stress, they affect the family, they affect the team, they affect the attention that you give to the product, to the concept, to the business that you're developing. They may, and they have a strong impact on that. So you have to sit down and look at what business you can design that based on your lifestyle, based on and the best of skills that you can develop right from. If you have nothing, is the sales. Whether it's a retail, you can set up a table somewhere and start to sell something right away. You put little money in, you get the money back. Then whilst you have your big idea that you're working on, whilst you have the big business plan that you're working on, whilst you have the big concept that you're working on, look at something that can bring in revenue every now and then. In that case, you'll be less stressed than the one who is looking for a big project, big idea, going everywhere, meeting people, talking big, and yet he doesn't have any revenue. That kind of business is dangerous. It's dangerous. You'll give up. And if you don't give up, you become a criminal quickly, because you may not be able to survive the stress. And so anything that anybody puts on the table, you are ready to take it, you are ready to accept it, because the pressure from the cash, the lack of it, may crush you. So if anybody puts anything there, you are ready to just cut anything with them. And that is also not the way to go. That is also not the way to go. So make your business life less stressful. Engineer it well. Look at the product that you can take to the market that people are ready to take, pay you, and the multiple cash flow that comes to you, will be the best approach to building a business. And if you have a family, then you have to look at that. You don't have to put yourself in a project kind of business, product development kind of business, where it's going to take you a lot of time before you start to see revenue. If you have a family, I think that they will not have the luxury to wait. So you want to see money, revenue to build the home, and also to build the business that quickly. And if you may have to look at multiple businesses, one that is handling maybe the income quickly, and the other one that is working on long-term projects, then it may be good for you. So it depends on the strategy. And all these things are things that people have done a lot of research. They have formulas, they have principles on them. They are not magic. If you miss them, then your business life will struggle. If you miss them, you go through a lot of stress, a lot of challenges. And not because it is difficult, it's because you didn't stage well, you didn't start well, you didn't look at your situation, look at the industry that fits, connected to the cash flow. You probably didn't do that. You were just ambitious, and you lock yourself in it because not every industry really is even scalable. Not every industry has the potential to grow that quickly. Not every industry even has the potential to make you a successful businessman. And you cannot stay with one business. You can't stay with one business. You can't. You have to develop multiple experiences. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to have multiple experiences with different products and in different industries. You have to look at that. After a while, you have to have that because the more you grow, the more spread you are, the better. If you stay with one, if something happens, everything that you have tried for would go down. And usually when you are late, you're in your 60s, you may not have the time to go and learn from another industry. So that's why you grow in other industry. Maybe you learn retail, you're learning some things about real estate, you learn some things about maybe agriculture, production, processing, manufacturing, maybe other industries. You start maybe five, or maybe you look because you cannot just stay with one business and think that it's going to grow and become huge. It doesn't happen like that. So you need other experiences in other industries, and that may help you not to fall quickly. So once the other ones are working, you look at the others that can help you to at least to entrench your position and to become maybe successful business. So build the business, structure it well so that you don't stress so much. And a lot has got to do with the access to capital and how you engineer it. And if you fail to do that well, then you will have to deal with the stress that comes with business. And that stress, if you are single, it is a bit more manageable than I think when you have a family. Because when you have a family, others are looking at you. Your mothers, fathers, your parents, your wife, your children. And that complicates a lot of issues. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you.